Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we are actually going to go ahead and make something really interesting. It's a disappearing texture, which you can animate and it will automatically create a certain part of your object and just dissipate the remaining objects, right? And the entire process is procedural, and we'll just go ahead and use nodes to create that texture, right? So let's get right into it. All right, so here's our default blender scene with camera, light, and our default cube. So I'm just gonna delete the camera. I'm gonna delete the light for now. And for cube, I'll go ahead and convert it into a circle. To that, you can just simply press Control 3. That adds a subdivision surface modifier on it, and with three subdivisions. If you want, you can increase it. I don't want to, so I'll just keep it at 3, and then I'll go ahead and apply the modifier. Once I've done that, I'll do a right click, shade smooth, and that's all that I'm gonna do as far as object goes. Now I'll quickly go ahead and open my shader editor. Now I can either go to the shading tab here and start doing it, or I can just uh, simply show it to you guys over here as well, right? So to add another tab here, all you can do is just click on this plus sign once it comes in and just drag it out. And yeah, just click on this and click on shader editor. And as soon as you do that, the same thing opens up, which is over here, right? So that's the shading tab. And let's go ahead and hop into the render mode over here. And I'm gonna go ahead and add an HDRI so that we can see things a little bit better. So go to world settings, click on color and environment texture, and let's open up our HDRI real quick. So go to downloads, and I've already downloaded one, so I'll just open that up, and I'll make it transparent uh, so that you guys can see it a bit better, right? So yeah, now that we have a proper lighting in a rendered view, I'm gonna make sure that I click on ambient inclusion, bloom, and screen space reflection. It's always a good habit to make sure that all these three are selected. It just gives a little bit more realism to your scene, right? So once that is done, now let's start making the texture. So if you don't see anything, and if you just see a new option here, all you have to do is just click on this new, or you can just come here and click on new here, right? And it creates a new texture for you. Now we are going to we're gonna need the principal BSDF, so we'll keep that, but just make sure that for now I'll bring the base color down so that it's a little bit more distinct, and I'll make this metallic and bring up the specularity, and let's bring down the roughness. Okay, so we have a basic object ready. Now I don't like the plain surface that I have here, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a bump node just to give it a little bit more bumps, in short, like a little bit more geometry, right? And then we'll go ahead and add a Voronoi texture, and let's take the distance from the Voronoi texture and plug it into the height. And as soon as we do that, can you see it's already giving us some interesting shapes right here, right? So I'll go ahead and change this to Chebychev, because that is something that really looks good. And let's increase the size a bit. So I'll increase it to about 20. And yeah, in the original video, I kept the color gold, so I'm just gonna do the same. Let's go ahead and change it to a gold color. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I'll hit Control T to get these two nodes here. If you are not getting that, just make sure that you have the node wrangler add-on enabled. For that, you click on edit preferences, uh, edit preferences, and then you go to add-ons and click on node wrangler, right? And you get this node wrangler add-on over here. Now, once you have that, just press Control T, and you get both of these objects, and just make sure that you're plugging your object coordinate into the vector. So this is just gonna give your object a little bit more evenness when the texture is getting applied, right? Okay, so once we have this setup ready here, now we're gonna create the part where it actually makes the texture disappear, right? So for that, I'll add a mix shader um, and plug it right between the principal BSDF and the material output, right? And just make sure that this principal BSDF is in the bottom part of that shader. And then we'll add a transparent BSDF. Now this is what is really crucial to make that disappearing effect. So transparent BSDF, and we're gonna go ahead and plug it into the top part of our shader, our mix shader. Now it's still not giving you that effect, and that's because we need to tell Blender as to which part I want to disappear and which part I want to keep, right? So in order to do that, I'll go ahead and add a color ramp just to get a little bit more control on how I'm doing things. And then I'll also add a Musgrave texture. So we'll go ahead and add this texture, and we'll take the height input from here and plug it into the factor of our object. Now, as soon as I do that, can you see that it's already giving us that effect, right? But it's black, and there's a simple fix to do that, to fix that, right? So you go to your material properties over here and just click on blend mode. Can you see the settings option here? In this, the blend mode, change it to alpha blend, and the shadow mode, change it to alpha hashed, right? And also make sure that you're checking screen space refraction and subsurface translucency. Once you have checked this, it's still not giving you the desired effect, right? So to achieve that, just go here and just make sure that you also have refraction enabled in your render settings, right? Which is right at the top over here, render properties. Now that we have this nice view going on, just so what we want to make sure is that the parts that are visible are more visible, right? Currently it's blending into it, and it just gives a really odd view. So take this black part here, and like the first thing we'll do is we'll flip it, and we'll bring this black part closer to the white one, right? And once we do that, actually there's no need to flip it, it can work with this as well. So the closer you bring the black part to the white one, the more it's gonna disappear, right? And the harsher that effect would be. The further away you keep it, the easier it would be. Like the more what do you say? The more blended the disappearing is going to be. Like you can see that it's fading away, right? So the more faded away effect that you want is the farther away that you keep it. So the closer you keep, the more harsher it's going to be. So I'll keep it closer for this one because that looks good. And the scale here for the Musgrave, I'm going to go ahead and bring it down to 2 just to give it a little bit more effect, right? So we are pretty much done as far as getting that disappearing effect goes, but it's still not animated, right? So to animate this, it's really simple. Now I've got my timeline right below here, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that. So the very first thing I'll do is I'll animate this Voronoi texture, and it just looks really cool. Like it gives that effect that it's crawling. So that's the reason why I want to animate it. There's no other reason. But yeah, in order to do that, just make sure you change this from 3D to 4D, and then you get this option of W, right? So this is the value that we're going to animate to get that effect. So at frame 1, I'm going to go ahead and like right click, insert keyframe, and then I'll go to frame 251 and then change this to 1 and right click, insert keyframe. Now, so you can see it's already animated this, and it really looks pretty cool. But yeah, let's bring that effect of disappearing in here now, right? So same process. You go ahead and change the 3D to 4D. You get this W option, then you right click, insert keyframe, and you go to frame 251. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 over here because I want the effect to be evident. So the lower you keep this number, the slower it's gonna move, right? So I'm gonna keep it at 2 so that it's a little bit more evident when you're actually going ahead and adding that disappearance, right? So yeah, as you can see that the effect's already in play and it's already disappearing and reappearing, and it's just really simple to add it to other objects as well. Like for example, I'm gonna add a cube real quick and move it to the side, and if I want the same texture to be applied there, all I have to do is select the cube, select the sphere that I created, and click on Control L and link material. Sorry, Control L, link material, right? So as soon as I do that, it's already giving you that effect on the cube as well. Similarly, you can just simply add any what do you say, any type of object here, and just simply go ahead and link material, and it automatically starts giving you that effect on that. So yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much it about this video. That's how you create that disappearing texture. Now you can one bonus point here is that instead of Musgrave, if you use a gradient texture, it will give you an effect a little bit more prominent. Like okay, let me explain. So I added a gradient texture and I added this mapping node in this. Now if you just play with the x-axis, it will just either disappear completely or just reappear completely, right? So you can even use this in some cases. It's going to be a really useful tool. So instead of Musgrave gives you a little bit more dynamic looking animation, but whereas gradients just gonna make it disappear into one place, right? So that's the difference between it. But I think I tried all the other textures, but these are the only 2 textures that were giving me anything that were giving me the desired animation that I was looking for, right? The rest were just giving me a really bad look, even though I added them instead of over here. So that's my suggestion. You guys can experiment anyways and try and see if you are able to create something different. And if you do create them, well, let me know and tag me, and I'll be glad to see your work. But that's about it for this video, and thank you so much for hanging out so far, and I'll see you guys in the next video.